Welcome back to episode 3 of the Sieben Show. This is the show where we talk about my life, my business experiences, and ultimately attempt to provide as much valuable to you, the viewer, as humanly possible based on my trials, my tribulations, the things that I discover, and ultimately sharing the advice and experiences, documenting the journey as I go through my personal and business life. In this episode, I want to talk about how large changes can happen to you in a very short period of time. And I want to start it off by just telling a quick story about me and my wife. We actually went for a date night last night, and we were in the car. We were talking about her job, some of her coworkers, talking about her situation at work, how happy and unhappy her coworkers were, and ultimately how she was happy with work, but seeing how it was very easy to be unhappy with the situation that you have day to day. As she had a story about a coworker that ultimately was very unhappy with her situation, talking about wages, talking about how much money that they ultimately made. And it gave me a time to really reflect on my own life and my own story, thinking back to when I was working a corporate job, thinking back to how happy I was versus how happy I am now with my career and the things that I do in a day to day, thinking about the income, how much money I was making before versus how much I'm making now, how much I'm projected to make this year and in years to come, how I'm going to ultimately achieve that. So I want to unpack a little bit about that. But essentially, the story and what we talked about was how your coworkers, how the experiences of the company that you work for and the things that you ultimately do day to day really have an impact on your mental health, obviously an impact on how much money that you're able to bring home. If you're working for someone else, you're in a corporate job, you're always going to be capped on the earning potential that you have or how much money you can ultimately make. Unless you're in, say, a sales position or a commission-based role where the more you get done, the more results that you have, the more money you make, you're always going to be capped. And there's likely going to be a limit on what your position, regardless of your experience, how many years put in, all of those things actually has before you need to either progress to a higher position, a different role with different responsibilities, or you entirely move companies and move out of everything that you're doing and away from your coworkers and away from potentially a place that you could be actually very happy. And so I really had that conversation with her. I broke down and I really thought about my life and the things that have changed for me over the last couple of years. And so I want to share that experience with you. I want to share that conversation with you. And I want to share a little bit more about my journey in terms of my own personal happiness, as well as the income that and how that's actually changed for me over the last couple of years. So to do this, I'm going to go back and just reiterate a little bit on my timeline, my story. And so I started selling on Amazon, and Amazon, I'll tell you right now, has completely changed my life, completely changed the trajectory of my life. And I'll say without Amazon as a company, as a platform, without the selling program the way it is, I would not be in the position that I am today. And I'm so incredibly grateful for the trajectory that Amazon and the input of myself and others and mentors and my partner, business partner, and my life partner, my wife, have come together. And the result is where I am now. So to give some information and some backstory there. So I started selling on the platform about 4 years ago now. At the time, I was working on this part-time, working on our business part-time and working in a full-time job. I was working in engineering, worked at a firm, and I was actually doing design for plumbing and HVAC, HVAC, and enjoying it. Quite honestly, I really did like the company I worked for. I like the people that were around me. I had a lot of freedom to do what I wanted. Being very young and early in my career, I actually got a lot of opportunities, which I'm grateful for to this day, that a lot of people in my industry didn't. And that was a result of two things, I believe. One, it was a small company, so they did small to medium sized projects. But because there weren't many bodies, many people to get the projects done, I actually got to do more in every single project than somebody who's in my position that was at a much larger firm where they had many more people, different levels of management, all of those things, right? And the second thing I think was my willingness to take on responsibility, my willingness to get things done and be held accountable for certain aspects. One thing that I found out very quickly, and we know this being in, grade school and college, whatever experience you have, most people, majority of people out there, especially in college, will work relatively hard. They're paying for something, they have goals, they want to get through it. But once you get out into the workforce, the majority of people, at least in my experience, are either content with what they have, where they are, and what they're doing, or actually don't want any sort of progression. They're unhappy. They aren't interested in putting a little extra time and effort and ability into it. They're not interested in bettering themselves, learning new skills. And so in each of my positions, there was a majority of people that fell into one of these two categories. And so I feel I differentiated myself by showing that, by showing some intuition, showing that I wanted to further myself, signing up for the different courses, classes, ability to further my skills that were offered with the company that I worked for. And I jumped on opportunities to take on bigger projects, more responsibility, have an increased level of accountability, even if it didn't mean an immediate promotion, it didn't mean an immediate raise or financial benefit. I was willing to do that because I cared about what I was doing. I wanted to progress. I wanted to move forward. I wanted to do more. I wanted to offer more to my employer, the clients that we worked with, all of it. And so I think that was a huge contributing factor to where I was in this position. And so while I was really happy with that, I also looked around, and I'm a massive believer of progress by association. And so the people that you surround yourself with are going to be the people, the characteristics that they have, and the things that they're doing, the accomplishments they have, and the progress they make in life is going to be really similar to yours. Because as you spend time with them, as you associate yourself with them, as you have conversations, you share your ideals, and you work towards goals in a common area or place, you're going to likely see very similar results. And so I looked around, like I said, the majority of people in the workforce, even the company that I worked for, didn't have a massive drive, didn't want to move forward, didn't want to progress themselves. And so I was able to stand out in that company as I worked through the different positions, took on more responsibilities, eventually got into a point where I was managing and handling projects and even bringing in new business and customers. But I also knew that even though I was happy, even though I felt at the time that I was being fulfilled, I wasn't gonna feel this way forever. There was going to be a certain point where I would be capped. I'd be capped on what I could do. I'd be capped on the ability of the company. And I would definitely be capped on the amount of money that I could ultimately make. So that didn't really sit overly well with me. I'm not the type of person that is necessarily content with what I'm doing. And so I wanted to find that way out. So while I'm progressing through this, while I was working towards this, I had this little side business, this Amazon wholesale side business. And so we started, and at first it was hundreds, then thousands, then a couple tens of thousands. Then we finally got to multiple 5 figures per month with this business model. And I found myself really enjoying it, really, really liking it. Really starting to understand the ins and outs of it, starting to create processes, really enjoying the whole process, building relationships with the suppliers. All these things were really fun to me. I really enjoyed them. I started to realize as I did more sales, as we got more revenue, which meant profit, that there wasn't an income cap. And the only cap that was really on this business was our own mind at the end of the day. Our own minds and the capital that we had to actually put into the business was what we were capped with. And so as COVID hit, we went more part-time at work for a little while. We actually had a reduced workload due to everything being shut down. And so we got the ability at that time to work from home. And also we were only working part-time hours. So I was making even less income at the time, which made me want to push and drive harder to make more income from the Amazon business to help kind of supplement. So even at that point, I'm about 2 years, about 1 year, a year and a half at this point into the business. And I started to feel the effects of what could happen working for someone else, right? At any moment, they could bring you down to reduced hours, reduce your pay, lay you off, anything like that, right? And I really knew that if I didn't have a backup plan, if I didn't have something else going on that could supplement this for me, that I might be in some serious trouble. And so what I did about it is I started to spend more time on my Amazon business, right? I started to see, okay, how can we push this forward? So my partner and I, we would spend evenings, weekends, we'd stay up late, get up early sometimes, and figure out ways that we could grow this little Amazon business. And so 2022 was actually my first year 100% full time in the Amazon business. I was working part-time at the engineering firm the year before that, but 2022 was actually the first year I was 100% full-time, all in with the Amazon business. And we grew our business by about 3x in 1 year. So myself, my business partner, both went all in. We grew our business by over 3 times, and we are well on our way to at least doubling, if not 3xing our business again here in 2023 as well. And that, in my opinion, is attributed to the fact that I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't in a position to settle, and I didn't want someone else telling me what my future was going to look like, how much money that I was going to make. Instead, I'm letting the market, I'm letting Amazon customers, I'm letting the people I sell these products to determine how much money I can make. And I can pull certain levers, do certain things, send more inventory in, create more relationships with suppliers, spend more money, and increase that income. And I will continue to do that. And so coming back to the conversation I was having with my wife, I just thought to myself and actually said out loud to her as we were on our way home from dinner, how lucky am I? How grateful am I to be in the position? Yeah, I worked hard. Yes, I put myself in the position. Yes, absolutely, there was no lack of effort or no real luck involved. But how lucky am I at the end of the day to happen to enjoy and love what I do and be able to make life-changing money and to be able to work hours where I could set the hours and be able to, work with one of my best friends who's my business partner as well, and be able to build this life, to create, to manufacture this life that I absolutely love. Running teams of people to help with our businesses is incredible. And so my message for this episode is you can too change the trajectory of your life. Whether it's Amazon, it's another business, whatever it is, things can change in a very short period of time. And so in 2022, I approximately 5x'd the amount of income versus 2021. In 2023, I think I will probably 10x. That is the goal. That is what I'm working towards, 10x the amount of income. This isn't what I'm personally paying myself. This is not going to be on my tax return by any means, business income versus what I made in 2021. And I don't think there's any job out there, maybe sales, if you're doing really high ticket sales, working for an incredibly fast growing company, could you do this? You have to be a business owner. You have to own something in order to 10x your income in just a matter of 2 years, 5x in 1 year. So I don't think that there are many opportunities out there, business or working for someone else as an employee, that offer this ability to grow and grow very quickly. I'll let you in on a secret. I'm not a genius. I'm not a rocket scientist. I didn't work for NASA. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary, anything absolutely crazy. I don't have a massive high IQ, any of those things, right? But what I do have is the ability to stay consistent with what I'm doing, the drive to want to move forward and do more, and the hunger in my belly to want to continue to grow and scale and build and just do bigger things in my life. And so as long as I keep that up, I know that I'm going to be well on the way to making many millions of dollars a year, growing a massive team, impacting the lives of those people and the families of those people by providing them an income, a fun place to work, the potential for growth, by impacting the students that I work with, that I help to introduce to this business, and then help and grow and scale and get them to a similar point where our business is as we grow as well. And the ability to provide Amazon customers with the quality products that we purchase and sell on our account as well. And so I'm so grateful for where I'm at. I'm not discounting any of the work. It's been a lot of work and effort and a lot of sleepless nights and long days to get to where I'm at now. That's not going to change in 2023 because I have really, really big goals. But just to say, in such a short period of time, how much is actually possible was crazy to think back on. Because when you're in the moment, when you're in the day-to-day, when you're really just looking at things, even when I'm setting business goals, didn't really understand how short ago, how such a little amount of time ago, I was working for someone else. I was making the level of income that I was. I was in a place where I thought my end goal would just be to continue to grow and have a higher position in that or another company and, maybe double my income in 20, 30, 40 years of working. I was hoping to double my income. That's what my eyes were set when I came out of college. But now I know that there is no cap. There is no end. You can do as much as you want. If you're willing to put in the work, set up the team, set up the system, set up the infrastructure, you can build large businesses, make any level of wealth that you want to. And so in just a few short years, it is absolutely possible for you to do the exact same thing. So with that in mind, wrapping up the show, wrapping up the story, I wanted to share that special story with you, as well as I wanted to talk about if this is something that interests you, if you resonate with what I said in this story, I highly, highly recommend go down to the description. In the description, I just wrote an ebook that tells you exactly what my business is, how it works, all the steps involved. I recommend you go and you download that, check it out for yourself, and then come back and give me any feedback you have on that book. It is new, maybe a few hundred people at the time of recording. So it is a newer book, still getting feedback, still making it the best that it can be. But this is a completely free way to see if the business that I'm doing is of interest to you. And then we could potentially talk about ways that we can work together and help set that business up for yourself. So go to the description, check out that ebook. If you guys are loving the show, if you're liking the content I'm putting out, make sure that you are subscribed and hitting that notification bell. That way YouTube will notify you every single time that I put out a new piece of content. We get a new episode for this show, as well as my other pieces of content too. Thank you guys so much for your time. I look forward to catching you in the next episode. Bye for now.